Hey RV family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, Review Guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one, I'm covering the new Denzel Curry record, Zoo. So this is the fourth studio-length album, the very anticipated fourth studio-length album by Florida rapper, Florida native Denzel Curry, who's coming off the back of by far his biggest release yet, Taboo, which came out last year. So I'm not necessarily surprised that he's wanting to follow it up quickly. I'm kind of wanting to get in and out of this review in a very concise manner, just simply because most people have heard Imperial or Taboo, and most people know who Denzel Curry is, and you're just here to know my thoughts of this. Something I kind of feel obligated to point out is the fact that if you enjoy Taboo, definitely still give this a try, because Denzel's exuberant delivery, his energy on the mic, his lyricism that can be serious, that can be funny, that can be poetic, and everything in between, it's still present, but the abstract experimentation, the wonky trap beats, how dingy and dark it was, blending what the kind of aggressive behavior you would get from a SoundCloud rapper, from kind of a traditional trap artist, and just Denzel's own weirdness thrown in there. It's definitely not as experimental as Taboo. It's not as widely scoped. It feels more just like a kind of cut and dry trap album, but when it's a cut and dry trap album that's made by none other than Denzel Curry, it's gonna come out with a bunch of churned out bangers. Not necessarily at the sacrifice of more of the kind of weird beats and weird instrumentals and the weird features that he chose on Taboo, especially with some of the concepts he was working with and how that album was made into different stages. My general consensus is I feel like this isn't as musically diverse as Taboo was, but still hits hard with more of a focus on choruses and things like that, because while Taboo did have some really sticky choruses, such as Vengeance is coming to mind, the track he did with JPEG Mafia and Zilla Kami, the choruses on Zoo just feel a lot more, not run-of-the-mill, but just more straightforward and blunt. Trust no man but you once, and never leave your day ones in the gut. That chorus on the track Ricky is amazing, and speaking of Ricky and Speedboat, which are the two singles that were released in anticipation for this album, they both hit very hard. Speedboat with like these kind of nice piano chords going all over the track, and Ricky just kind of being this hard-hitting banger with a very nice build-up, as well as especially a nice chorus. Ice-cold verses, sometimes blunt, sometimes poetic. You can read into them and dissect each lyric, but for the most part, Denzel's just hitting you with quotables for days, funny lines, serious lines that are kind of on the surface, on the nose. Not too much to be kind of taken away, which is a good thing, because when you're getting these kind of fast verses, or swirling verses, or just paced verses, or boppy verses, or snappy verses, or these hard-hitting choruses, you're not really wanting to take the time to be like, I wonder what this lyric's saying. Once again, an amazing chorus on the opening track, Zoo, and I'm coming out the zoo, zoo. And a hard-hitting but not too hard-hitting and bassy type of beat that reminds me somewhat of Mask Off. Wish is one of my favorite tracks featuring Kiddo Marv, and consistency's not an issue with this beat considering it is kind of different and has that shimmering quality in the background, kind of psychedelic, old-school jazzy and funky feel to it, very synthy, but the consistency's not an issue because the trap semblances are still there in full force and you're not feeling like you're getting something or not getting something that's on the rest of the album. I especially love Kiddo Marv's verse, a rapper that I have not really been that into in the past, but his voice, his vocals on this verse are just ice cold, and some of his lyrics ring very poignant as well, like on the line where he talks about how every week there's another funeral, it's the only time we go to church. Once again, another massive chorus on this track. The jazzy, shimmering beat that comes in with the chorus that's obviously on the rest of the track, I feel like Denzel just slides over with very perfect mixing. That's something on this album. The mixing is phenomenal. It's completely great. And whereas a lot of Denzel's lines come off very serious on his verse on this track, I do feel like he takes it with somewhat of a playful demeanor in the way his inflections work and his vocals work, and I think it adds this charismatic personality to it. But with his verse, it's very hard-hitting as well, where he's saying Rip X and Rip Tree. Once again, Birds features something that I didn't think I'd like. I'm not that big of a Rick Ross Ross fan, I have enjoyed some of his features, but for his own material, I've never really been that keen on it. But on this track, he slides over this wonky trap beat with ease, and his lower register really just works so well on this track. I can't be the only one thinking that. This is such a devilish, demented beat, but it stays simplistic enough to be applicable to your average everyday trap listener, and I love how wonky it is. It definitely sounds like something that could have been ripped straight from a beat from Taboo, and is perhaps the beat that sounds the most like Taboo, if that's what you're here for. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the standout tracks on the album, but that's not really to discredit any of the others. Those are just simply my favorite tracks. The rest of this track listing is very strong, and there's not really a track that I'm like thinking is a big dud. There are some like fairly run-of-the-mill trap beats and trap rap type of verses and songs in general on this album, but Denzel's charisma, Denzel's delivery makes them stand out, especially with some of the features that he brings on, and all of his beats are just very dingy. They're shrouded in this demented, devilish darkness, and the production stays very consistently punchy and nice for a trap album. Very impressed with this record. It is shorter than Taboo by a long shot. This album only goes to 29 minutes, whereas Taboo reached into the mid 40-minute mark, but I'm pretty happy with this record, and there are quite a few standouts, and the rest of the album that I'm not really talking about is pretty okay too. There's nothing that I'm really having to complain about, but nothing really that I'm having to say about. Most of what I've already said can be applied to the rest of this album. So definitely check this album out and let me know what you thought of it if you have checked this out. Do you like Denzel Curry? Do you like this album more than Taboo or less, and all that good stuff? I'm going to be giving this album a 7.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Please stay for the end screen. I'll link some videos that you might be interested in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. It'll help me out a lot. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morse, Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.